we good to go. So today we are going to look at versioning our software. So after you've written your code locally, how do you version it? And I will explain what versioning is in a second. Let's open a Word document, for example this one. So say you're working on a Word document and then you say my name is Moses Mbadi, and then you save your file. So you say profile 1, or you just say profile and then you save it. Now the next day you come and say my story in tech, and then so you can save it under the same file name, which is where is it, profile, or you could save it as a different version. Think of it this way: you want to share this file with two people. One person you want them to see this, and the other person you want them to see all of this. So right now if we save it, that means they can both see the same things. But if one person shouldn't see this, now we have to save it as a separate file. We have to save it as a separate version. So we'll come here and we say save. Oh no, okay, I've saved it in there. So now let's assume the second person should not see this, for example. So we come and remove this like that. So we are going to share it with two people. One will see everything that was there initially. The other person will see only this minus the second name. I don't know what that means, but just follow me along. So we're going to save us, and then we save it as profile 2. And then we save it. We close this one. So this is what person 1 will see. They will see Moses Mbadi, my story in tech, and person 2 will see this. We'll see this. There is no Mbadi here. Now imagine if you have a third person whom you want to see extra data. For example, I love pets. So person 1 and 2 should not see this, but person 3 should see this. What do? You save it as a separate file name. So you come to, I've clicked save. Man, I keep forgetting. Now let's do it again. Say person 3 should see I have a dog. Okay, so you'll come here, you save us, and then you give it a name, profile 3. Then you save it. So this gets very messy if the file is large, because number 1, you duplicate your space. Number 2, it becomes very hard to know what is what. Now this does not directly translate into code because we're using a Word document, but now let's see how that works in code. So for this tutorial you'll need to have Git installed. If you're using Linux, Linux comes pre-installed with Git, so you just have to type Git. And then if you see all this, it means that you have Git installed. Now remember, Git itself is just a command line interface. What that means is, let me see if I can get my drawing tool here. Okay. All right, so let's see if we can get it to draw toggle painting. So Git itself, this is your computer. Let me see if I can draw a laptop. This is your laptop. So all the changes you make to your code are stored locally. What keeps track of these changes is what you call Git, which is basically a command line tool. So you use it in the command line. Now, if you want to, if your laptop, for example, if something happens to your laptop, maybe it crashes, God forbid, you've lost everything. There is no place where you can get a copy of your code, not unless you did send it to your friend. But again, what if you no longer talk to that friend? Now it becomes difficult. So we have what we call, okay, let's not give it a name right now because you're using GitHub. We'll just stick to GitHub. Now, after you've made changes to your local repo, Git will keep track of those changes, and then Git can push those changes to a website called github.com. If I can just write github.com under your profile. So every time you make changes to your code, you give the commands to Git. Git will pick everything that you've changed, and then it will push those changes to a repo in the cloud, which is a copy of your project. That is what GitHub does. So we have GitHub, we have GitLab, we have Bitbucket. They all work with Git, but for now we're just going to stick with GitHub. Okay, so just know Git itself is a command line interface, but GitHub is a website, so to speak. GitHub just picked this Git and then added hub. You might think it's the same thing. It's not. Let's go back to our code. So how do we toggle this painting thing? Okay, let's clear our screen. Okay, so we are going to use an example from one of my repos. If you just go to github.com Moses Mbadi, you can go to repos, and then this is what you're going to use. It's a simple Django website. It's a loan lending app. I don't want to dive deeper into that. So you're going to come to this, and then you say HTTPS, and then you click this icon here. Now, while in the folder that you want to work with, let me just create another folder here called Git Basics, and then I'm going to cd into Git Basics, cd Git Basics, and then I'm going to say git clone, and then I'm going to pass in the URL that I've copied, and then I hit enter. So what git clone does, it gets a copy of this repo, it gets a copy of everything here, and then sort of downloads it into your machine. So if I do ls right now, I'll see I have copper, so I'll cd into copper, clear. Now if you're following along, I think I need to enlarge this screen. I don't know how to do, what are the shortcut keys to do that? Let me see if I can. Okay, let me just do this for now. I've forgotten the shortcut keys. Okay, cool. I hope everyone can see. So we've cloned our repo, and as you can see here, it's saying we are on main. What is main? We'll look at main in a second. Now, I think about my terminal. If I do echo shell, you see I'm using a shell called Zish. I'm not using bash. So Zish comes with a framework called OhmyZish, which has code suggestions. For example, if I type git, it just does this thing, sort of suggests the command that I can type. So for now, just ignore anything in gray. We just go with anything in green or white. OhmyZish does this, but we'll move to VS Code and we'll see how VS Code does it. So right now, we've cloned an existing repo, but we want to work with a clean project that does not have Git. So what we're going to do is you're going to remove a specific file called .git. So you're going to remove the file. Clear. So we do not have Git on our project. So our project does not have any versioning tool. So I'm just going to open this in VS Code. I'm going to bring it here. Okay. Terminal. Where is terminal? And then you're going just to have it down here. Okay, so when you clone, this is what you get. Like I said, it's just a Django app, and we're going to run it and see. So if you're new to Django, or if you don't code in Django, you can skip this part. I think I'll have to add, what do they call it? Those to time things on YouTube to show you. But if you're interested to know, you can just stick around. So to work with Django, first we need to create a virtual environment. And to create a virtual environment, I have this tool called virtual env. So you're just going to say virtual env vnv. So what this will do, it will create this folder here, which is our virtual environment. So I did write an article on virtual environments. I will link it in the description below. So what a virtual environment does is it separates your dependencies from the rest of your from the rest of your projects on your laptop. So that is what it does. So I'm going to activate my virtual environment, and then after I activate my virtual environment, I'm going to install my dependencies. Now these are what we don't want to install on our laptop globally. So that is why we are working with a virtual environment. So here I will just come and say pip install requirements.txt. That's going to take a while, so let me grab some water. Okay, so our dependencies are installed. So we are going to try and run our project, run server, and then you're going to, and then we have an error. So assuming this is the error that your project manager or your senior has asked you to solve. So back in the project, what we need to do is we need to version our code. The code that we're given, we need to create a version for it so that we have versions. So what we do is we should integrate our project with Git. I'm using the word integrate to mean okay, let's just go with integrate. I'm trying to find an easier way, but it's unconventional for someone to say integrate your project with Git. So the command that we need to type first is git init. And then what this will do, as you can see here, it will tell you that it has created an empty Git repo. Now, if we do ls-l, we can see this folder was created. Let's look at the date, 1709, 1709. So this folder has just been created. This is our database. If you delete .git, now you've lost history of your versions and whatnot. So think of this as a database and management interface for everything versioning. So after we've initialized our project with Git, we need to add all our changes to what we call a staging environment. A staging environment is where you push all your changes before now you version it. So here we are going to say git add, and then you're going to use period. Now, conventionally, some people will specify the files to add here. You can say git add db.sqlite3, and then it will add only this file. But for our case, we want to add everything in the same directory we are in here. So we are going to say git add period, and then we're going to check how many files do we have in staging environment. So if we do git status, it will show us that we have all these files in our staging environment, changes to be committed. They've not been committed yet. So we will go ahead and commit our changes. By commit our changes, what we're trying to say is we are trying to version them. So here we will say git commit, and then we'll say initial commit. Just like that, you hit enter, and now everything has been versioned. So this is the first version of our code. If we do git log, we can see that we only have one version of our code. Now this is what you call a commit hash. It's what you will be referring to when you need to make changes back. More on that in a second. You might be wondering where I'm getting all these commands. If you just do git help, it will show you all the commands that you can run. There is merge, there is commit, record changes to the repo, there is branch, there is all this diff, grep, log. You can play along with, you can play with all this, see what they do. So right now we have the first version of our code, but it's on main branch. So the concept of branching is you have one main branch. It's just like a tree. You have one main branch, and then you take copies. You take a copy of that main branch, you put it into another branch so that you can mess with it there, and then once you're done, you put your changes back into main. So here, since we want to solve the error, we want to have a different version for that fix. So we will create another branch. We'll say git branch, and then we say b, and then that should be git checkout, not git branch. Git checkout dash b, and then we say fix allowed host. Fix allowed host, and then when you hit enter, you see it's showing that we are currently on allowed host. If you're using VS Code, you can just use this to show you the branch you're on, the active branch. So what happens when you type this command? When you type this command, Git will get everything in main, and then it copies that into fixed allowed host. Now if you look at the file manager, nothing really has happened. It's not the same way we were doing with Word documents when we created multiple Word documents. The files are the same, everything is the same, except the changes that you've made inside the files, or the changes that you've made if you've easy motorbikes. If you've added files, or if you've removed files, it will show you only the current update. I don't know if that makes sense, but anyway. So let's clear our screen. Now let's try to fix the issue. So we are going to run our project again, and then when we refresh, we see it saying invalid host header, that you need to add this to allowed host. So Django has this thing under settings called allowed host. So you're going to look for our app settings. So you're going to go into Copper settings.py, and we are going to scroll to allowed host. Let me do some formatting here. So we'll do that, and then under that we type now the endpoint that was causing the error. Now let's see if it will work without reloading. Now that works. Everything works okay. So after you fix that error, what is the next thing you should do? You should version your code. So how do you version your code? Step 1, you git add. We're just adding everything. You could just say git add settings.py. It's under Copper, so I'll just have to do this Copper, and then I do that. Clear. So if I do git status, it will show me that I've made changes to this file, but they have not been versioned yet. That is what this means. So we are going to version our code. So we'll say git commit, and then what have we done? We've fixed allowed host. Now this is very important. It's important to have these commit messages as descriptive as possible to you and to other developers. So we're going to version our code, and then we hit enter. So if we try to check the logs, git logs, git log, we can see we have two commits, the one that you've made on fix allowed host, and the one that we made on main. So we have two versions of our code. Now if we check out to main, this is how you check out to another branch. If we check out to main and we go to allowed host, as you can see, it is not updated yet. So if we try to run our code right now, we are getting that error. So the error has not been fixed on main. But if we check out to our current branch, git checkout fix, we do that, and then we run our code. If we run our code, you see it's working okay. So we need a way to get all the changes that we've made on this branch into main. Now there are two ways you do that. Either you use git rebase or git merge. Now git rebase does not mess your history. It's kind of hard to explain. You have to play around with it so that you understand what they mean. But I prefer to use git merge. You use git rebase, especially if it's a smaller project, if it's just your project, because it doesn't mess with the history. Okay. I'm confusing myself. You use git merge. Let me just confirm what I'm saying here. Okay, so git merge retains history. So you use that if you're working in a group and you don't want to mess other people's history. So you use git merge. You use git rebase for a cleaner history, but again it messes with the history, so it becomes hard if you're working as a group or in a group. So we're going to check out into our main branch. So we are in our main branch. We don't have the changes, we only have these. So here we are going to say git merge, and then we're going to say fix allowed host, and voila. So it tells you these are the changes you've made. It shows you here. So now main has all the changes. So main now is updated with the current version or with the fix that we've just made. So we're going to clear here. We have another error. So for example, somebody was working on the main branch and they did make this error. Let's comment out this code. So right now, if you do run our project, you see it gives you this error. It's not even running. If you go to the browser, you cannot really, it's not running. So you just get this site can't be reached. So we need to fix this error. So how do we do it? The error is on main. So we can create another branch from main. Let's say git checkout, -b, and then we say fix base dir, and then we hit enter. So we have now everything from main has been copied into fix base dir. So we need to fix that error. So if you do run server, we get that error. So we will go to base dir, which is here, and then we fix it, and we can include a comment here. Don't mess with this in production. Okay, we've included a comment. So we try to run our code again, Python run server, and we go to the browser, and voila, now it's working. So we need to push these changes to our main branch. So again, how do we do it? We use merge. So I'm going to git checkout into main, and then while on main, I'm going to do git merge, and then I will say, okay, we are not fixing allowed host, we were fixing base dir, and then I'll do git. Oh, it's already up to date. Why? Because we've not really updated, we've not really versioned our code on this branch. So we need to go back and version our code here. So we will check out, git checkout, fix base dir, and then we say git add, we're just adding everything, and then we say git commit, and then this one was fix base dir, then we hit enter. Now when we go back to main, git checkout main, we can just say git merge, and what am I doing, git merge, and then fix base dir, and then we hit enter. Now all the changes that were on fix base dir are on main. So while on main, we want to check the history, we can just do git log, and we can see here we have 3 versions of our code, this one, that, and that. Now imagine you've been told that there was a problem 3 commits behind or 2 commits behind that you're supposed to go and have a look. So how do you go back? How do you undo commits? So we can, again, we create, if you're touching anything in code, or if you're touching anything in your source code, it's always a good idea to create a separate branch. So here we are going to create a separate branch. Now this is I once wrote an article that breaks down my learning strategy. So number 1, you start by you just dive into the deep end, gets introduced to the terms, get confused, and then once you get confused, you establish patterns. After you establish patterns, you go to repetition, and in repetition is now where you master. So right now I think we are getting to establishing the patterns. If you want to make a change, you git checkout -b, the branch name, and then if you've done with your corrections, you want to submit your code, you do git add, git commit, and then your code is versioned. And then now you go to main and git merge from your branch. So here we are going to say what are we going to say? Main revert. Let's just call our branch that, for lack of a better name. So now we are in a branch called main revert. Now in this branch, everything is updated, but we want to go back 2 commits. So how do we do that? We use git reset. So there is git reset, there is git revert. One messes with the history, one does not mess with the history. It's just like merge and rebase. But here what we're going to do is git reset --head, and then we say head 2. So what this means is we are going 2 commits behind. So we'll just hit enter, and then we go to allowed host. You see, now we are 2 commits behind. If we do git log, we see we only have 1 version of our software. So we've gone back to when we only had 1 version of our software. So that is how you go back if you've made any mistakes or any changes, or you need to refer to something that was there initially. So that's how you go back. Now those are the basics of Git. I don't think I'm forgetting anything. In a future video, we will look at GitHub and how to push your code to a remote repo called GitHub, so that now you can clone in another machine and continue with your work if something happens to your laptop, or if somebody else wants to contribute to the project, they can just clone the project on their end and they continue with the work. That's it for this one. Thank you for watching and following along if you're still with me up to this point. If you do like the content I've put here, I would appreciate a subscribe, a like, so that other people can get access to this video. Feel free to share it with your fellow students or your siblings if anyone wants to get into tech. I try to create content that is suited for absolute beginners in a way that I would have appreciated if somebody followed or if somebody taught me from that perspective. Thank you very much. Have a good one.